Hello, welcome to another episode of CoinBlock. I'm Charles, and today I'm really excited to be reviewing 6 ICOs and comparing them to the past successes of 6 previous ICOs now trading on the crypto markets. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is definitely not financial advice. Always remember to do your own research. I'm not paid, sponsored, or affiliated with these ICOs. The views expressed in this video are just my opinions. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and of course hit that notification button because investing in ICOs is time critical and it'd be such a shame for you to watch all my content only to miss out on the latest ICO offerings. So the first ICO I want to talk to you about is Vice. Now Vice is an interesting concept. It basically wants to create a cryptocurrency for the adult industry. It wants to create a token for watching pornography. And it uses a Steam Media Protocol, so it's essentially paying users to watch adult content. Not only that, but its business model is very disruptive. It's basically creating a paradigm shift for an industry that's been very set in its ways for decades. Now, what really goes against this project is really their reputation, because it's tied to a negative industry which could actually hamper their future growth. So if we actually have a look here, we can see I've been quite bullish on them. I've given them about 5 out of 10 for the token economics. I think overall the token economics are quite good. They're offering 5 cents per token. Their token supply is 4 billion, which is very high. However, I think Superman was actually talking about them last week and there's a lot of awareness in the market for this project. So I've actually given them a hype score of about 60%. And then you've got the team. I think they've got a very capable team with the necessary skill set to pull this off. They're all industry leaders in their own field in the adult entertainment industry, but they're not an all-star team. Just because they have industry experience doesn't make them all-stars per se. I think the team's a little bit small, the advisory panel's a little bit small, but overall I think this is quite a good project. The main thing you have to be aware of is they're actually offering a 30% bonus, which I was actually against. So I've been very generous here with the token economics, but this is definitely a high risk project. This is not something to go all in on, so to speak. This is definitely high risk, so you need to factor that in with your risk analysis if this is something that you're going to be investing in. The second ICO I want to talk to you about is Titanium. Now, I think this is actually trading now, so again, I apologize that I haven't given that information out to you sooner. A lot of people have wanted me to review this project, and I don't really know what all the fuss is about. It basically wants to create a distributed network infrastructure for replacing bloated and inefficient hardware foundations upon which the internet of today is based. So I wonder what Sir Tim Berners-Lee would have to say about that. I think the project overall has a very solid team. They have an all-star team. You can see here I've actually given them 70% for the team. Token economics are quite good as well, although I think the token price is very high at $1 per token. They want to raise $35 million and they have a token supply of 60 million. The bonus offering is 20%, I believe, so it's not too bad there. So again, I've actually scored them the same as Vice token. Hype, there's a lot of awareness in the market. There's quite a few YouTubers talking about them. There's a presence on Reddit as well. So I think people are aware of this ICO. The main problem with this project is really what they want to achieve. They're unrealistically ambitious. As it says in their white paper, just as steel changed the building industry forever, Titanium will usher in a new era of network construction. So what the hell does that mean? As an investor, they're not really selling me their idea. It's just all fluff, you know, it's the same thing as all the other ICOs. I really want to see something more concrete. One gets the impression that Titanium is perhaps moving to blockchain out of a fear of being left behind technologically rather than being innovative or usefully disruptive. You have to remember the CEO, Michael Fontaine, actually founded a company in 1999 that specializes in enterprise solutions for infrastructure management. And he's working with large companies like Apple, eBay, Microsoft, IBM. And I really get the impression that he's trying to jump on board the blockchain bandwagon, so to speak, to get more funding. So the third ICO I want to talk to you about is Car Vertical. Now, I really like the idea of Car Vertical. It wants to create a blockchain-based car history registry system. So it's a unique idea with a strong use case. And I found many articles written online from several reputable websites that don't actually do paid articles. So there seems to be a lot of legitimacy in the crypto space for a project of this caliber. So the main problem with car vertical is really the car industry as a whole. Adoption across the automobile industry may be problematic without extremely simplified use cases. People who aren't in the know aren't going to understand, and they're not really going to care how blockchain works. And they're really going to have to simplify their use case to get their business model off the ground. So I looked at their advisors, and I actually feel that their advisory panel are receiving abnormally high tokens for this type of project. So that is something to be very, very aware of. Pre-sale investors received anything upwards of a 45% bonus. So I've actually marked them down for that. I gave them about 30% for the token economics. Team, they got a very strong, capable team, but not quite an all-star team. Gave them 60% there. And for the hype, there's a lot of YouTubers talking about them. Again, I think Superman, who has a lot of followers on YouTube, he was briefly mentioning them. So I've actually given them about 70% there. So there is awareness in the crypto space for this project. The fourth ICO I want to look at is Telegram. Now, Telegram, as you all know, is a privacy-focused app that wants to launch an ICO to build its own blockchain. The project has very broad objectives and it lacks vision and overall clarity. So that is something to be very, very aware of. Tokens are going to be around 10 cents and they're going to be releasing 5 billion tokens. Now, I haven't been able to get information regarding their hard cap, but it's going to be in the hundreds of millions. It could be 2, 3, 400 million. So they're asking for a lot of money. But at the end of the day, so many people use Telegram, so many people in the cryptocurrency community use Telegram that I don't necessarily see such a high hard cap as a hindrance. Nonetheless, I have marked them down substantially here. You can see I've actually given them 30%. Now, I don't know what bonuses they're releasing for pre-sale investors, if indeed they're actually going to have a pre-sale, but I imagine there's going to be a lot of institutional buyers getting into this. So the main problem with Telegram, I feel, is really the token's utility. It's a bit like a gift card. It's great. You can use it in Walmart or Asda or Debenhams, but you can't use it at JFK Airport and Harrods. For that, you need a debit card or a credit card, not a gift card. And I do feel that the token's utility on Telegram is going to be just like a gift card in the real world. You'll only be able to use it on the Telegram platform. You're not going to be able to use it across other apps and blockchains. So I really do see the token as a whole on the Telegram platform as being a hindrance. I hope it's going to be open source. Another point to raise with Telegram is that 50% of the tokens are actually going to be held back by the Telegram team to stabilize the market. So that is something else to be aware of. You can see here that for the team, I've actually given them 80%. They've all got their profiles on Wikipedia. Obviously, they're a very well-known team. The CEO, as well as founding Telegram, I believe he also founded VK, which is the Russian equivalent of Facebook. It's a social media platform, very popular in that part of the world. So the team does have a lot of credibility and legitimacy behind it. Hype, it's still early days, but I'm going all out here and giving them 100% hype, the same as EOS, just because a lot of people in crypto use Telegram to communicate with ICOs and to get feedback and information about them. So there's going to be a lot of awareness in the market for this project. So the fifth ICO I want to talk to you about is Kairos. Now, Kairos is a very interesting project. It wants to create a decentralized facial recognition platform for large enterprise clients. 6 years of operation behind them, and it has a large enterprise of customers already using their products. The big advantage offered by an on-chain facial recognition platform is the scaling and growth potential derived from a decentralized database. Now, you have to remember that Kairos is actually going up against the big boys. It's going to be competing with Google, it's going to be competing with Amazon and with IBM's Watson, and not to mention Microsoft. So even though they have a working product, it's going to be very difficult to see how Kairos is going to be able to compete against these big players, especially when it comes to big data. Now, I think they've got a very good team, a capable team. I gave them about 70% there. And token economics, I've actually marked them down considerably. I only gave them 20%. And the reason for that was they've already sold $10 million worth of their tokens to pre-sale investors, offering anything upwards of a 50% bonus. So that's something to be very aware of. But you need to find out the lockup period for those pre-sale investors. You know, when this comes onto the exchanges, if those pre-sale investors have their tokens locked up for 1, 2, 3 or 4 months, it's not really going to be that much of a hindrance to buyers on the market. They have a hard cap of 30 million and they're releasing just a little under 500 million tokens. So overall, I think the token economics, bar the 50% bonus, are actually quite good for this project. Now, hype, again, not many people seem to know about them. I've given them about 70% for the hype. So they're still as popular as Car Vertical. I think Ian Bellina was talking about them last week. So there is awareness of them in the crypto markets. But overall, this one is definitely under the radar. Now, the final project I want to talk to you about is ArcBlock. Now, I've had a lot of requests here to review ArcBlock. Now, people, when they look at my graph, they make the false assumption that these ratings are what I actually believe in with these ICOs. So they see, oh wow, you've given this 70% and 70% and 100%, that means I should buy ArcBlock. No, it doesn't. I actually use this graph for my own analysis to separate my own bias from these ICOs. Now, granted, I actually think, with the exception of Titanium, I think most of these ICOs are quite legitimate. But this by no means suggests that I'm all in for these ICOs. This is just trying to look at the token economics, the team and the hype. It doesn't take into account their prototype or MVP. It doesn't take into account the idea or what they actually want to achieve. I'm not interested in any of that stuff when I look at an ICO to begin with. I only want to look at the fundamentals, and these are the fundamentals. Some people disagree with me, but to be honest, this is how I work, and it works very, very well for myself. So, what is ArcBlock? ArcBlock wants to create a blockchain ecosystem for building and deploying decentralized applications. So, at the moment, there's a lot of FUD, or fear, uncertainty, and doubt being spread about ArcBlock, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But at the end of the day, I don't really mind investing in tulips, but I have to at least feel confident that other people are going to be convinced by the tulip's value. So, is ArcBlock a tulip? It really depends on which side of the fence you stand. They have a solid team. You can see here that I've actually given them 70% for the team. And for the token economics, I've actually marked them down. I gave them 80%, but I marked them down because they had a bounty program. Now, whenever I see a bounty program, it tells me that there's going to be people on Reddit, people on Steam, and people on YouTube who are actually going to be hyping up and promoting these projects just because they're getting rewarded a bounty. Now, I don't do bounties to make videos on ICOs. I turn them all down. I don't accept payments for making videos. But I don't like it when I see people who offer bounties for ICOs. It really does go against what they're trying to do, I think, overall, because all the information about them is going to be false. So that is an issue with ArcBlock, the thing that they're doing a bounty campaign. However, they're only offering an 8% bonus to pre-sale investors, which is why I've really marked them up here. As you know, I always penalize ICOs for having high pre-sale bonuses. Now, the main plus points with ArcBlock are really what they want to achieve. They're blockchain agnostic, meaning they're going to work across multiple blockchains, multiple platforms. Also, it has a very low hard cap for what the project wants to achieve. They're only asking for $45 million. Yes, I know $45 million is a lot of money, but overall, I think that's a fair amount of money to ask for, considering what the project wants to get off the ground. Now, the prototype was actually developed in Q1 of 2017, so they've already got something physical to show people. Now, the main sticking points with this ICO are that the CEO has been working on a prototype, an application called Pixo Mobile, for the past 5 years, but reviews on the Apple App Store are not viable due to having minimal downloads. So I'd like to know what he's been doing for 5 years if he created an app and put it on the App Store and there's no reviews. That's kind of sketchy in my mind. The website was only registered on the 28th of November of 2017. So that's not good. Generally speaking, I like to see the website registered for at least 6 months or maybe even a year. If they've just set up a website a few months ago, it doesn't really lend credibility to the project. There's no proof of partnerships for ArcBlock. On their website, they list many media outlets, yet these are yet to be proven real. Now, I always see this on the websites where they say they work with IBM or Microsoft. I really want to be able to click on those links that take me through to a news article, and I can't do that with ArcBlock. I did more research on them, and I couldn't find anything to suggest that they actually have partnerships with those companies. Now, I'm not saying they don't have them, but I'm saying that if they did have those partnerships, they would actually go out their way to show them to me, and I'm not seeing that. And the fourth and final problem with ArcBlock is really when I tried to reach out to them. I went onto Telegram as I usually do. No one answered my question on Telegram, which is just very frustrating at the end of the day. So now we get to the good stuff. Now we're actually going to analyze ICOs that are already trading on the crypto markets. Now, these ICOs I've actually analyzed in my previous videos. So if we begin and look at Simple Token, we can see here that the rating system, if you look at my previous reviews, is the same for this ICO. I gave them 80% for the team, I gave them 60% for the token economics, and I gave them 70% for the hype. This hasn't been altered in any way. You'll see the same data points for this project when I reviewed them, I think about 6 or 7 weeks ago. Now, they actually made a stunning 15x, and at the time I was very bullish on the project. I still am bullish on the project. And they're basically competing head-on with Stratus, with Dragon Chain, and offering enterprise solutions for centralized businesses that actually want to get in on the blockchain action. So this is a very promising project, and this is definitely something to watch as 2018 gets underway. The second ICO I reviewed previously was Bread. Now, I'm very bullish on Bread, and it only made a 4x return on investment, which is still very good if you think about it. But as I said in my previous review, this is definitely a long-term investment. I always said that if you wanted to buy this and flip it, it wasn't for you. You should just disregard it and go for something else. But I do foresee good things for Bread, mainly because of the team. They have an excellent team. Now, I scored them 80% for the team. I gave them 70% for the token economics, mainly because they weren't giving away any pre-sale bonuses. And for the hype, they had a lot of hype at the time, 90%. But it just goes to show you, if you buy into an ICO with a lot of hype, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to make multiple gains on your investment. I mean, generally speaking, right now, I usually buy into ICOs that nobody knows about. So it really depends on your investment strategy and what you're looking for. So the third ICO that I previously reviewed was Bounty OX. I always knew they had excellent token economics. It's actually the highest I've ever scored an ICO for token economics, which I looked at about 7 or 8 weeks ago now. I think I reviewed Bread. And this is the same scoring I gave them back then. For the hype, I was one of the first people to review them. No one was talking about them online. For the team, I gave them a standard score for the team. The team were very small, and I didn't think they had the necessary experience. But I always knew in the speculative market that they would probably do quite well. As you can see, it made a 54x return on investment. So I think there's a lot of investors who were very happy buying into this. The fourth ICO that I previously reviewed was Nebulous. Now, Nebulous did very, very well. Obviously, it wasn't a 54x return on investment, but I do consider an 800% return on investment very, very good indeed. You can see here I gave it 60% for the token economics. Overall, the bonuses for pre-sale investors were very low. And for the team, they have one of the best teams I've ever seen, the same up there with EOS. I think the price for Nebulous is quite low at the moment, and I think it could do very well within the next 6 to 12 months. You can see here, for the hype score, when I originally reviewed them, I actually gave them 2. And for the team score, I actually gave them 90 because all the co-founders were previous team members for Neo. So I'm still very bullish on this project. So the fifth ICO that I previously reviewed was Q-Link, which made an 11x return on investment. I thought they had a good team, but not an all-star team. I gave them 60%. Token economics were excellent here. You can see I gave them about 80%. And hype, they had a lot of hype in Asian markets, but it's always difficult for me to gauge hype in Asian markets because obviously I don't speak the language. So I gave them 30%. So I'm still bullish on Q-Link, and I think they could do very well in the long term. The final ICO that I previously reviewed was Vest. Now, it made a 7x return on investment, before crashing. Now, the reason why I was quite skeptical on Vest, even though I thought it was a great project, was it didn't have a prototype or MVP when I reviewed it a few months back. It had an all-star team. As you can see here, I gave them 80%. Token economics were very bad. I should have rated them lower, actually. I gave them about 30 to 40%, as you can see here. And that was really to do with the pre-sale bonuses. They actually had a double pre-sale. They had private investors who bought in, then they had a pre-sale after the private investment sale, and then they had a crowd sale. So it wasn't looking too good for the token economics with Vest, but the hype was always kind of middling. I gave them about 4 to 4.5%. I think Ian Bellina did a Q&A with Vest. So it was definitely on many people's minds, but it never really got the hype and attention that it should have got. But 7x is still a very good return on investment. So moving forward, if we look at these ICOs as a whole, if I remove bread there, we can see out of all of them, the one I like the least is Titanium. And that's because when I looked at them, they had a really bad website. I thought it was very cheap looking, especially for a bunch of IT professionals. I really expected better. And I didn't like the token price. I think that's going to deter a lot of new investors. Also, I didn't see any proof of a prototype or MVP. MVP stands for minimal viable product. Many people have been asking me what that stands for. That's what it stands for. So I didn't like Titanium in that respect. But I do like the name, actually. It stands out. Quite a cool sounding name. Then you've got Vice. Now, Vice is a very interesting investment. Now, I would suggest that if you had a very large portfolio, again, this isn't financial advice, and if you invest in this and you lose all your money, I'm not responsible. But I think 0.5% or 1% of your portfolio as an investment in this is a good level of risk to try and get in on the action for Vice. I think anything more than that would just be absurd. Now, obviously, if you've only got $1,000 or something, I would just say just stay away from Vice. It's too risky. But something tells me that Vice really has the credentials to do well in the short term. In the long term, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Forget it. But for a quick flip, I think Vice could do well. Of course, I could be wrong. And then you've got ArcBlock. Now, I actually like ArcBlock. I think it's quite a promising project. Despite all the FUD going around it, you need to look at these things logically. Many people make the mistake of looking at an ICO thinking, when Lamborghini, when Moon. When I look at an ICO, I think when bankruptcy. I'm not actually interested in making money. I'm interested in knowing whether or not I'm going to lose money. And once I've lost money, only then would I know whether or not my analysis and my theories of the ICO are true or false. If they're false, then I can really adapt what I'm doing. A bit like Darwin, have like a evolutionary theory of analyzing ICOs and evolve forward from there. If I'm always winning, I'm not going to be able to learn from my mistakes. So I really don't mind losing money when I invest in ICOs, because I always put a set percentage of my portfolio in every ICO dependent on the level of risk. So I think ArcBlock is definitely a high risk investment, and I think this is potentially one to watch. But there is a lot of misinformation out there surrounding ArcBlock. And then you've got Telegram. Now, I think Telegram is another one to watch. I think this could potentially do very well. What you really need to do with Telegram is ask yourself, what are they going to do with the tokens? Are they going to burn those tokens? Are they going to freeze those tokens for a set amount of time? Or are they going to return those tokens back to the ICO team? Or are they going to redistribute those tokens to ICO token holders? You need to find out what they're going to do with any unsold tokens, because they're asking for a lot of money. And that is a concern with Telegram. But because of the amount of hype and awareness it's got, this could do quite well on the markets. And then you've got Kairos. I think that could potentially do very, very well. I do like the project and the CEO. He seems to know what he's talking about. And finally, Car Vertical, I think, has got one of the best kind of documented ICOs I've ever seen. Everything is there. The only thing that lets it down, it doesn't let it down, but the team, again, what did I give them? I gave them 60%. So they've got a good team, but not an all-star team. That's one thing to be aware of when investing in Car Vertical. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, and of course hit the notification button, because investing in ICOs is time critical, and it'd be such a shame for you to watch all my videos only to miss out on the latest ICO content. So on Monday, I'm actually going away to the Far East on business for a few weeks, and I'm still going to be making ICO reviews for you, but they are going to be a lot shorter, they are going to be a lot sharper, and hopefully a lot sweeter. I'm going to be giving you some very good information on what you should be looking at when investing in an ICO. So I will see you in the next episode.